The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. It's time for our event show. It's the Sue Ellen Sanders Show. Hosted by Sue Ellen Sanders.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. Usually you get a little bit more superlative on it, but that's okay. I'll take that for now. I have with me today Cris Adams, who is, are you still the forever president at Heathcote, or are you just the spokesperson? Yeah, she is. My God. No, she was just motioning. She didn't say anything. Yeah, she just motioned to her
Microphones
car.
don't pick up motions.
Yeah, I know, and Cris knows better. Well, it's a good thing, actually, because you never know what somebody's going to motion. So Cris is here with Heathcote Botanical Gardens, and she is the forever board president. And she's here to talk about tea in the gardens, and Melanie Wiles is also with us. And she is actually the COO of the Boys and Girls Club of St. Lucie County, but she's wearing a different hat today, or a combination of hats?
As a tea lover and a garden lover and a Cris Adams lover, that's how I got involved in this fun project.
It's really tough to say no to Cris, isn't it?
Well, I was just delighted, and Melanie just begged to be on the committee, so we have a wonderful committee.
Because Melanie does not have enough things to do.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Well,
and so she's one of the we talk about superlatives, but the folks on the committee, and we have a fun time, and we're getting it done.
That's good. And the annual tea is coming up on Sunday, April 7th from 2 to 4 p.m. And we'll talk more about that, but we'll just talk just a little bit about Heathcote Botanical Gardens first, because this is something, you have certain events that you do annually, and this is probably one of your more Johnny-come-lately events, isn't it? It hasn't been around for 30 years like some of the other events.
That's correct. This is the second year that we are doing it in the gardens. Mm-hmm. But you may remember that I have done it several years at my house.
Yes.
And then it sort of outgrew my house. Last year we set up for 80 people, and it was a sellout. And this year we're expecting 100 people, and we already have people who've made reservations.
And it is a tea party, so it's really great opportunity to, if you wanted to come to an old-fashioned tea party and get all gussied up and have a cup of tea and whatever else that you need. It all goes to support Heathcote Botanical Gardens. So,
it does.
Heathcote Botanical Gardens used to be known as the Treasure Coast's best kept secret, but it's not really a secret anymore.
I hope not.
So let's talk a little bit about the gardens before we get to the event itself.
All right, 33 years we've been in existence. We just had our Bonsai Bash that was very successful. On the 30th and 31st of March, we have our spring plant sale. That's always fun, and that will be mainly plants that are propagated at the gardens, but we will have some vendors, and there will be children's activities, and there will be food that can be purchased. So that's Saturday and Sunday, and the Friday night preceding that is Anita Prentice. I don't know exactly what you'd call it, but sort of a night for Anita Prentice, and she will have items for sale. There will be wine and beer and
mosaics,
and that will be the night that they pick the winning ticket for her mosaic. Yes.
And if you've been under a rock for the last 10 years and you don't know, Anita Prentice is the person responsible for all the beautiful mosaic bus benches all throughout St. Lucie County, but for some other incredible art that she's always worked really hard at. And we're it's going to be something 50 years from now where people are going to say proudly, well, I have an Anita Prentice.
Sort of the way we do say we have a Beanie Bacchus or a highwayman. Yes, absolutely.
So that's really cool.
And then on the 10th of May is a Friday that is National Public Gardens Day. And we are members of the American Public Garden Association. And so that is an event that is celebrated by all members, and there are about 300 of them. So it's a free entrance day. And we will be open from 10 to 4 on Mother's Day with free admission for all mothers.
For all mothers.
And it's a great opportunity to come with your mom or come by yourself and bring a picnic.
And escape from your family.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good way to involve Melanie here in this conversation.
Right.
If you have a house full of boys at home, you must like to go to the gardens.
I do love the garden, and I love all things girly like a tea party. So.
Yes. That's awesome.
Those are our events that we have coming up for the next couple of months.
But the garden itself, as you said, was established 33 years ago and just has grown and expanded, and also expanded its mission. So, you added the bonsai garden and you added other parts of Heathcote. So you added a lot of different events, but you also, it's a ideal location for something like a wedding or just a respite from your day if you want to go. And of course, it's just off US 1 on Savannah Road. So right by the Humane Society there, if anybody's looking, and you can access it either from Indian River Drive or US 1, so it's easy to find for everybody. So Melanie, as a member of the committee that was planning this tea, where did you most enjoy your input?
Well, I called Cris years ago and just happened to hear through the grapevine that she loves tea and I love tea. And so I've really just enjoyed the whole process, being able to provide a tea party that literally has, very unique china. It's all of pieces from Cris and other people from the committee. I mean, every table setting is beautifully set out. It's all real. There's no plastic. It's everything laid out, and every bit of food is specifically picked by the committee because it's some signature sandwiches that you should be able to have.
Do you have those little cucumber sandwiches? Cucumber and cream cheese, right?
It's cucumber.
Yes, we do.
Pimento cheese, and is it egg salad, the other one that?
Yeah.
And then, of course, Chris's shortbread cookies. But what's beautiful about it is it's not just the linens, it's not just the china, but it's a time for you to sit with your family or friends at a table and just really enjoy your afternoon, and to be in the garden on top of it just adds even more, the beautiful flowers and breeze. And it's not a lot of times that you can sit outside in that beauty of nature.
And also spring is such a wonderful time to be in the gardens. Somehow, even during the summer, though, Heathcote seems to have a little bit of a breeze going by. How do you do that, Cris?
We order it up special, but you're right. And there's and it may be the tree cover, but I find that as soon as I get out of my car and I start walking in the gardens, it's like my blood pressure goes down about 10 points. Not that it's high to begin with, but you do feel a sense of serenity.
You don't think that has anything to do with retiring from your job at the United Way, do you?
No, it was true even then.
That's funny, because for years when Cris would come here as president, and how many years have you been president of Heathcote?
More than I admit to.
Yes. You also wore the hat at the United Way as your full-time job, and I don't know how you had time to do everything you did, but, obviously Melanie's taken a page from your book.
Yes, she has, and then some.
So it's great to have both of you here and to talk about something like a tea party, because honestly, you just don't have that many opportunities anymore to go to a tea party. And, to get dressed up and to, maybe you and your mom or you and your daughter can come. And Melanie's going to be bringing her daughter. But you'll probably bring your mom too, because have you always had the culture of tea?
I actually started collecting my teapots and teacups from my grandmother.
You
and
did.
So
I remember that you had talked about them.
She's passed those on to me, and so I do little tea parties in my house. But my sister and I enjoy going to tea whenever I visit her in New York, and it has been something peaceful and wonderful memories that we've made from it. And that's the other part I love about the event, is because a lot of people that are coming, maybe this is their first time really sitting down to a tea. Maybe they came just to see the garden, or maybe they came to see our auction. And when you're introducing them to that atmosphere of just sitting down and enjoying each other in conversation and being served, this beautiful meal, it's really nice.
Should you put your pinky out when you hold your teacup up?
I'd have to have a cup here to
think about it. I mean, that's kind of like when we're making fun of people.
Yes.
Or not making fun as much as pantomiming people who are drinking tea. That it's the finger that goes up. I'm talking about that pinky finger.
Yes.
But you also, in addition to being able to have the tea sandwiches and to drink the tea and enjoy the social atmosphere and get dressed up, you also have a silent auction that's going to be going on, which is going to help raise money. Somebody want to tell me about that? Who's in charge of that?
Well, Melanie is in charge of putting the baskets together. So yeah,
we have at least 30 items, baskets and such, that we'll have, and we have a lot of beautiful art, a lot of beautiful themed items that have to do with gardens, plants, that type of thing. Things for entertainment, wine, food, all kinds of things for people to choose from. Jewelry, we got everything covered there.
Are you still looking for other items?
Yes,
we would
absolutely.
Absolutely, yes.
And you're still looking for sponsorships too?
Yes, sponsorships, donors, ads for our program.
So there's a lot of different opportunity that you can get involved in. The RSVP for this event is by March 22nd, but you still have plenty of opportunity. You could purchase a table for 4, or you can get an individual ticket depending on, if you've got a party to go with you, or if you want to go there and find a party. Is it mostly women who attend?
Yes, it's mostly, but last year we did have several men. I'm not sure if they were coerced or if they liked tea, what the reason was, but they were there and they seemed to have a good time.
And a lot of them were serving us the food too.
Oh, interesting. It's always nice to be served.
Yes.
I just finished listening to audiobooks, and I just finished listening to an audiobook online, Michelle Obama's Becoming.
Yes.
I don't know if either one of you had the opportunity to read it or listening to it yet, but I guess I just didn't know that much about her at all, and I kind of thought that she was, her husband's helpmate, and she was the mother of her children, and I knew she had been an attorney, but I didn't know anything about the rest of her life, and it was very empowering to listen to a woman who really came to terms with, that there's a time in your life for everything, and that sometimes, there's a time where you have to step back, and sometimes there's a time when you have to step forward without losing anything yet. I don't know. It really inspired me and made me feel like, because I'm also one of those women who stepped back for a while and did just freelancing for a while, and I felt like I had kind of lost my identity because I wasn't, moving forward ahead. I don't know. I got to thinking about it, and I got to thinking about what a typical woman is like and what an old-fashioned woman is like compared to a modern woman. You know, and look at, you know, a lot of the women that I know now that are several generations younger than me, like Melanie, she would never have thought of taking a step back. She just kind of threw all those balls in the air and went with it. And then, you know, then to take on volunteer opportunities on top of it, just like, it's very impressive. And, you know, I know, you know, it's because that she's committed to the Tea Party, and she's also committed to you, Cris. But, you know, Melanie, where do you find the time? Where? I can't imagine.
Well, I've always had that theory where doors always open for me. And so I have a strong faith, and I feel like that always leads me, but I've kind of been guided by that I was telling somebody just earlier in the waiting room that, you know, if somebody wants me to be at a meeting and they want me to be on a committee, and somebody like Cris that feeds me has a little bit of food there, that always helps me, because that's one less lunch I had to pack or one less dinner that I had to make. And I have a wonderful spouse that helps me, and, you know, we support each other. So, but it is like you said, there's a time when, you know, this is what I need to do, and my husband will step up, and then there's other times that I do the same for him, and that is a healthy balance. And the other thing is, going back to what you talked about with family, I grew up in a family where giving back was key. Mm-hmm. And my grandmother, you know, she's in her late 90s, and she volunteers 5 days a week. And she takes the bus to volunteer sometimes.
Really?
And so that's kept her healthy and happy, and
that's
I think
very impressive.
Making sure that's integrated into my life has just kept me happy and balanced. So
so you kind of have a heritage of that type of service back to the community.
And we're certainly delighted that she's chosen the Tea Party to be a part of, because she's a great asset.
Well, we have a lot of time, and we can talk some more details about Heathcote Botanical Gardens and about the event itself, and we will do that because, you know, of course, in addition to the tea sandwiches and Chris's shortbread cookies and chocolate, always chocolate, and the setting of the Tea Party. You know, you have the silent auction, so it's kind of an afternoon where everybody can kind of sit around and be social and relax and enjoy each other's company and shop, which to me is like the best of all worlds.
Yes, it's a good combination, I think.
When the shopping comes to you, although I think my car was trying to go to the Vero outlets today. That must have been it.
Yes.
But I thought I'd give Melanie a few minutes if she wanted to give us a little bit of an update on the Boys and Girls Club.
Absolutely.
Because you've been there and have grown kind of up. When you started with the Boys and Girls Club, you were like this kind of young pup, not that far out of college. It was like your maybe second or third job or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And you just had that fire in your eyes that you were going to get a lot of stuff done. And now, you know, you're like second in command there and kind of taking the world by storm. So tell me about, you know, what's going on there, what's new, what's exciting. I know you all just had your Youth of the Year.
Yes, we did. So we did just celebrate our Youth of the Year celebration and our annual campaign kickoff. And we started our year with a bang. We actually just opened our 20th club last week.
Wow.
Which is very exciting. I was telling Cris we opened a club at Forest Grove Middle School.
That's awesome.
And it was an awesome collaboration because the school came to us and saw this need of, you know, there's kids that don't have anywhere to go in the morning and the parents have to get to work. And so we really worked closely together to solve that issue. And it took a little bit of time, but through the school's partnership, we work with Children's Services Council and our wonderful friend Philip Bush at Southern Eagle, we were able to get the funding to start that program for the kids, and there's not a fee for them. And so
they get to be dropped off for free, and a lot of them, that means that they don't have to walk to school, or they don't have to mill about, or there's not an opportunity maybe to skip school and stay home instead of
or get in trouble.
Middle school. It's tough when you're in middle school.
It is tough. And when we first went out to the school before we started our program, and we saw these kids standing outside, they were all standing away from each other, and they were on their phones, or they were walking to school. And so as we got to know them, we really built this little mini community within the school, and kids that have been going to school together, but they never had a conversation with each other. And now they're saying, hey, man, pass me the ball, or do you want to come over and play this with me, or let's do this activity together. And it's just really inspiring. We had a couple of free Fridays, and we had up to 50 kids in there. So that's the audience we have now. And just to think about where they were at now, and now we get them, and we get to, mold their little minds and help them maybe finishing up their homework, or maybe we call it our little lemon squeeze, where maybe they're having issues with bullying, or, getting into it with friends.
Lemon squeeze?
I don't know. That's what they start. When the kids come to us and they're just frustrated.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're implementing, and I know
maybe when life gives you lemon, you make lemonade.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the context.
Well, this whole piece of relationship building and the social emotional learning aspect that the schools are really integrating is more about letting the kids have a voice and say, this is what's going on in my life right now. And maybe I'm acting out because I'm hungry, or maybe I'm acting out because so-and-so made me upset yesterday, and just giving them a chance to get that off their chest before their day starts, and giving them a little activity and team building to do together. It sets the day off on a whole new tone, and we really can see the transformation in these kids. It's very exciting.
And, especially at the beginning of the day, as you said, if they maybe get a little bit of exercise or social time, then they're not so likely to mess around at the back of class, and they'll spend more time doing what they need to do in school and move ahead forward. And that's such a centrally located middle school that's perfect to find the need and then address the need and see change and affect change in the community. Cris, I know that you've been involved in so many different projects along the way. Was it like a year and a half you retired, or a year and a half ago you retired from United Way, or was it longer than that?
2.5.
Oh my goodness.
I'm on my great adventure here. Yes.
But some people take their great adventure and go off and have it somewhere else. And you've taken your great adventure and made your community stronger.
Well, the very sweet words. It's a wonderful community to be in, and the community has always been very collaborative, and they've always been very kind to me. So it certainly seemed normal that I would continue to do what I can for the community, even though I was no longer at United Way.
So now basically you're working the whole day, but you're just doing it for free.
That's about the size of it, yes.
We get that figured out. Somehow the volunteer work does have a tendency to expand, because when you're out doing good in the world, you're seeing other needs that need your input. And then, Cris, the other thing that's kind of cool about you is you're not afraid to suggest something to somebody in an organization that should be done, even while you know that if you suggest it, you're going to be the one helping to get it done.
Well, I think for
you know how that works, right?
For most of us who are active, we sometimes have to be careful about what we suggest so that it doesn't land back in our laps, to be sure. But I like to think that I have good ideas now and again.
Yeah.
And it's been my privilege to be able to suggest and to have people, continue them even after I am no longer doing them.
So, what would you say has been one of your greatest motivations in the community? Because with your old United Way hat on, you had the different segments of the community.
Right.
You had, health and wellness and the education and what weren't there like 4 different things? I don't know. I don't remember all the details of that either, but there were different directions that you could go into and still be helping the community. What has been your favorite project?
Well, while I was at United Way, I would say the 2 things that I found the most stimulating were, first of all, the school supplies for students that I started the year after I came to United Way. And also the other one would be being on the organizing committee for the Hands Clinic. I think providing health services to people who have limited income and no insurance is such a win-win.
It is.
And as I mentioned earlier, this really is a very collaborative county. I've lived several other places in my adult life, and it was like that when I came here in 1995. I like to think that I contributed to it continuing and maybe getting more so, but there really is not the kind of exclusiveness that you find in a lot of other committees or communities, where the Salvation Army doesn't talk to the United Way, doesn't talk to the Children's Services Council. And I find that if I lived in a community like that, I'd find it very difficult. I've done some workshops at conferences on working collaboratively, and people will come into, how can I work together? And literally that is what they have told me, that organization A doesn't work with organization B, and so what do I do?
Or they treat it like a competition. So it's just the opposite of working together. Yeah.
And I've really never found that to be the case here, and I would say that, for all of the damage that we had in the hurricanes of 2004, I would say that was almost a catalyst to bring together whatever organizations felt that they were exclusive and didn't work with anyone. I think sometimes the faith community is a little hard to engage, but I think there are reasons for that. I think a lot of them are very small congregations, and probably their leadership is part-time. Often their pastors work a full-time job and then are pastors of their congregation on Wednesday night and Sunday morning. And so they're not in a position. But I think that, as I said, I think the hurricanes of '04 changed that. And I think that when Bob Carey started Sarah's Kitchen, I think that made a big difference. They realized that they could work together. They didn't lose their identity. They didn't lose congregation members because they were working with other people. And it's just, it's been a wonderful experience.
It's funny because I've spent not my entire adult life, but my entire married life and my entire mom life in this community too, and I guess I just kind of took for granted that we are very inclusive and everybody is helping everybody else out in that manner. But think about I had Kathy from Graceway on about a month or so ago. It may have been longer than that, and she was talking about what they do with the clothes that they're not able to use for the school kids, that they collect them and then give them to another charity, and then there's certain clothes that they collect and give to somebody else, and it would be just easier just to dump everything at one place, but they take the time to figure out where the need is greatest or where the need is for those specific things. And the same thing with like the Treasure Coast Food Bank and Sarah's Kitchen and Mustard Seed and all of the nonprofit organizations that work toward ending hunger and homelessness and helping people out in times of crisis. And the Hands Clinic, which offers the hand up and not the hand out. And it just feels like in a world where things seem to be more and more polarized, that doesn't really happen in St. Lucie County.
And I, as I said earlier, I think it's unusual. And I
now
think
that you mention it,
I think that it happens to a certain extent in other areas near us, but not to the extent that it happens in St. Lucie County. Whether it started because we didn't have any turf to guard, I don't know.
Or we all had blue tarps on our roofs.
Right, or even, before that.
Yeah.
But it just, it was a welcoming idea when I came here, as I said, in 1995, and I was delighted to be able to carry it forward.
And, we're talking about one nonprofit helping another nonprofit. And really, Melanie's sitting here as a terrific example of that because, she represents in her full-time life the Boys and Girls Club, but, is willing to find something that she wants to give back to the community. You said that you were attracted to the event because it was a tea party. Well, yeah, but you could also probably just go somewhere with a friend and have tea somewhere, right?
Yeah, there's something about Cris worked with me. I think it was last fall. We did a women's leadership summit, and there's something about the gathering of women and just bringing the community together and sharing something and being able to do something really cool with that too. So that's a passion of mine, and so that's probably what was a driving force to do this and to start that with her. And I knew we could make something really special out of it.
Well, we probably should go ahead and mention Impact 100 too, even though Cris was here just last month talking about it, because it's a really good example of a gathering of women, over 100 women who've come together to make an impact each year on a nonprofit organization, a terrific impact. And you all have a event coming up that people are invited to in April.
Yes, the 17th of April. 11:30 at the Pelican Yacht Club. It is free for members of Impact 100. The cost for non-members is $50, and at that time we will be presenting our first $100,000 grant. And I'm looking around the table here, and all three of us are part of Impact 100. So that has been another very satisfying group to be part of, to see how many women, and I'm sure that for a lot of them, $1,000 a year is a great portion of their charitable donation for a year. But to see them be invested in this kind of an organization is very exciting.
And, it's exciting for the women, too, to feel like on our own, we're making a difference.
You bet.
And it really doesn't have anything to do with, the men in the community, even though they're very supportive. And it's perfectly okay if a woman wants to get, like, her business or her organization to sponsor her as a member of Impact 100.
Yes.
But the women are the ones that get to make the decision.
Yes.
And
we will all get to vote on that day. There will be 3 presentations made of the finalists, and they will know that day.
It's kind of like the Academy Awards of
Yes,
nonprofits, right?
Yes.
And of course, it's going to be an annual event, and this is the first year for
Yes.
Impact 100.
So
and
it's amazing. This
yeah.
is, I think I am correct. This by April, it will be just almost exactly 18 months since we started, and that's a pretty phenomenal thing.
And people did say, "Oh, St. Lucie County, you're not going to be able to get 100 women," didn't they?
And now we have over 100, and I think people that go to that event, not just the members, but anyone that wants to come to that event, there's probably no better way to get introduced to what Impact 100 is and really see this is where you can make a huge impact on a big piece of the community. I mean, depending on whatever charity or organizations receive that grant, I mean, how inspiring is that going to be? So I hope we get a big crowd that day. We have lots of room, so you can buy your ticket.
I've had people ask me already, and who are non-members, can they come?
Yeah.
You bet.
Sure. Of course, there is a charge to come, but it's basically
$50.
your lunch. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So and it'll be an eventful day. So I'm thinking, what else can we talk about here? Because we've talked about the tea in the gardens. We've talked about the excitement of the tea in the gardens. It's $50 for individuals, and of course, Heathcote members get a discount. So let's circle back to Heathcote for just a minute, and then Melanie, I'm just going to give you a heads up. We're going to briefly talk about the Chili Cookoff because we might as well, right?
Why not?
But as far as the garden's membership,
Yes.
you know, a lot of the special events like this, if you have the annual membership or the family membership or individual membership, you get a discount on your tickets.
Yes, you do. And I would say that probably the largest benefit of membership, besides the fact that you have free admission to Heathcote anytime the garden is open, and as you mentioned, get discounts. You usually have free or reduced membership to any of the 300 member gardens of the American Horticultural Society. And it right there, you probably, if you travel at all, you have covered the cost of your membership, because a lot of gardens entrance amounts are much greater than a Heathcote daily admission would be. And for gardens in Florida who are not members of AHS, Heathcote has made agreements with them so that they will accept Heathcote membership for either a free or a reduced admission. So it's like money well spent.
It is. Excuse me. And if you look at it from the perspective of, you know, being able to go into the garden also, and if you're a business, there's a business sponsorship too, and that business sponsorship at a certain level allows you to use the garden. So if you wanted to do an employee appreciation thing or have some type of event there, you could have some event there.
Yes, and that would be what we call our Royal Palm membership, and that is $1,000 a year and up.
And that's ideal really for a business who,
or even for individuals. I mean, I had a birthday party there.
Oh, now that's a neat idea.
Yes.
I know that there's weddings there too.
Yes.
I was out of town for your birthday party. I just have to say, because I wasn't there. I feel really guilty about it.
I actually, at the Bonsai Bash one year, I won a birthday party for my son there, and it was really the most phenomenal experience. We brought a group of children there, and they got to tour the garden and make fun crafts, and they were introduced to nature, and they got to eat, and it was just really neat. So I never had thought about this birthday party concept in a garden, but the kids they loved it.
They loved it, and they ran around, and they didn't destroy your house. And
no, exactly. It's really
And they didn't destroy the garden either.
no, well, because it's something about, how old are your kids now?
my oldest is 8.
Oh my goodness.
842.
842. So you know that being outside kind of calms the wild in kids, even from the time that they're babies and they're starting to fuss at a certain time of night, which always seemed to be like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night.
The horror
take-
hour.
Yes. Melanie knows it well. Right? You take them outside and they look around, and even when they're 6 months old and they're too young to understand exactly what they're seeing, they look up at the birds and the trees and the leaves and all the nature, and it calms them down. Yeah, it is. And then for little boys who are having a birthday party, there's room for them to run too. There's like not a whole lot of room in that, you wouldn't be able to keep tabs on them. How old was your son when you had the birthday party?
I think he was 6 years old.
Oh,
when
so
we had
that's
it.
perfect.
It was a nice age.
Yeah. That's really perfect. And I know a lot of people have weddings in the garden. And
Yes, we do a lot of weddings. In fact, there's a wedding the night before the tea party, and so we are coordinating with them to see what equipment and tables they are renting so that we can collaborate.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so just get them to leave behind.
Well,
so
they
then
will,
you won't have to
because the
set-
rental people won't come
Right,
until
on
Monday.
Sunday. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's awesome. That's great. All right, so big picture, you're looking for more sponsors. You're looking for some more auction items. We're selling tickets, and you can buy the tickets by going online to Heathcote Botanical Gardens. That's www. It's in small print, so I probably can't read it. Is it Heathcote Botanical
Gardens.org.
.org. Okay, well, that's pretty basic. So you can buy the tickets online.
You can. And you can also, if you're more comfortable, you can call the gardens, and that's 772-464-4672, and order your tickets that way.
Awesome. Melanie, it's a little early for talking about the Chili Cookoff itself because that's not until July. However, it's not too early to talk about the teams for the Chili Cookoff. And everybody should be getting their teams together. And this is also a really good opportunity, too. If you're thinking along the lines like Cris and Melanie, and you even if you work for a nonprofit, but you want to be part of the greater good. Like, for example, if you work for the Early Learning Coalition and you want to have a team at the Chili Cookoff to benefit the Boys and Girls Club, you can do it.
Yes, because there are kids, all of ours together.
Yeah, they are. And it's not a competitive thing. It's not like, okay, you give money for this, then you're not going to give money. You're probably more likely to give money to both charities than to pick one or the other. So how do teams get involved? And the date is middle of July?
So the date is Saturday, July 13th, and the event is at the Fenn Center in Fort Pierce.
Which is awesome because it's air conditioned.
It's in the air conditioning. And we have I'm sure it'll be a little heated in July. It usually is. So this year we've actually expanded our offerings, and we have openings for 45 teams. But most of them are filled now. So if someone is interested, they should definitely contact us. And
I already talked to somebody, but I didn't pick my.
Yeah, we heard. We know we have you down, but you need your theme.
Okay.
So the theme this year is books. So it's really fun. All of our teams have picked different books, or maybe it's a series of books that they're representing. And what we ask our teams to do is, number one, pick their theme. So
we're doing the Little Engine That Could.
Okay.
Nobody's doing it yet. Their first choice was taken. It was Winnie the Pooh.
So she has that down. So then the next piece is you need to set up a booth and kind of decorate it in your theme.
Yes.
And you can wear costumes and that kind of thing. And then, of course, we want you to cook at least one pot of competition chili, which means Miss Sue Ellen can tell you all about the competition chili.
Well, you know that I'm a past Chili Cookoff chili competition winner.
That's right.
For WPSL.
Yay.
Yes.
So no beans or fillers.
It was an accident, really. I was the sous chef. I was cutting the vegetables, and my husband was throwing the spice in. But yes, no beans, no fillers, so no pasta. It's just like straight up chili.
And you cook it on site. So at least that one pot has to be cooked on site, and that's what's judged that day. And then other than that, teams are really encouraged to host fundraisers ahead of the chili cook-off and then the day of. So many of them sell their chili the day of too. Some will have multiple types of chili. Some will sell chocolate desserts, peanut butter pie, all different things.
I know. Peanut butter pie. Hoskins and is it Hoskins and Turco still? Okay. Hoskins and Turco.
Turco, yeah.
Yeah, the peanut butter pie. Oh my gosh, it's incredible. Sometimes I skip lunch and just go straight for the peanut butter pie. But there's all sorts of other things that you can also do as a fundraiser. It doesn't have to involve food, but you should have something at your booth that's kid-friendly for the kids to do, because you're going to have a ton of kids there.
Yes, it's definitely a family-friendly event, and there are a ton of kids that come out that day. And what I love is that it really is the entire community that comes together. So you have all different businesses, all different organizations, nonprofit. All of our media stations are there, and everybody's comes together for one cause, and it's a lot of fun, which you don't get to say about everything, but it really is a lot of fun.
And the other thing that I wanted to say, which was my selling point with my organization, was that it's a team building exercise. So you might spend hundreds of dollars to go somewhere and pay for the opportunity to do team building. Instead, you can come have a team at the Chili Cook-Off, and then you guys can really appreciate how well you could put your booth together and plan your costume and your fundraiser. And then you have the opportunity, you can enter someone in the Little Miss Pee-wee contest. No, it's Mr. Pee-wee.
Mr. Pee-wee.
Miss Chili Pepper,
Chili Pepper,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
And that's adorable. That's one of our favorite things, which WPSL always hosts that area of the cook-off, but the kids come up and they perform, and they're just adorable.
And you know what?
And what age group is that?
It's like, what, 3 to
5.
I've been around so long that Jake was little. He was in the contest for WPSL. It was either for WPSL or for the Tribune. So he's 25 now. And that kind of puts it in perspective. He doesn't really put that on his resume, believe it or not. But it is a lot of fun to see them. And last year I had the opportunity to help judge the kids that were up there. And some of the kids are just so excited to be on stage and performing for everybody. And then you've got the other kids who won't take 2 steps unless mom is standing there. And either way, it's fun to be in the audience and watch what goes on. Sometimes you run into people you haven't seen in years at the Chili Cook-Off, and it's a good opportunity to, whether you have a booth there or not, just come and check everything out and taste the chili. And any recommendations for how to win with the chili?
No, I think just be creative. We usually have similar judges every year, and you got to follow the rules and be creative. There's so many wonderful spices out there now and ways to include different meat. So
I know one of the things that I was told was don't make it too spicy, because if you make it too spicy, then you're going to, turn somebody off. But I know Sailfish Brewery for the first time entered a team last year. Are they doing it again this year?
I believe they are.
Yeah, I think Taylor was talking about it. But they had an internal competition with chili in order to pick who would enter the chili for it. But there's so much more, and whether it's not just about the chili. It's about getting together, seeing each other, seeing kids, helping kids, and bottom line, helping your community be a stronger place. I think we've covered just about everything, haven't we?
We really
this
did.
was really a multi-purpose show.
That's collaboration.
Yes.
It is. It's the best of all collaborations. And Melanie, I hope that either you'll come back or you'll send somebody back as we get closer to the Chili Cookoff, and we can talk about some of the other teams that are going to be there. And meanwhile, if you're looking for a relaxing, fun afternoon, Sunday afternoon tea in the gardens at Heathcote Botanical Gardens is your best bet. It's Sunday, April 7th from 2 to 4 p.m., and it's $50 for individuals or $175 for a table of 4. And you can bring your daughter, bring your mother, bring your friends, and do a little bit of shopping with the silent auction and feel like you're giving back to the community at Heathcote Botanical Gardens. Melanie, Wiles, and Cris Adams have been my guests today, and Cris is the forever president for the Heathcote Botanical Gardens, and Melanie is a committee member for the Tea in the Gardens and also the COO for the Boys and Girls Club. You've been listening to the Sue Ellen Sanders Show. I'm here every Friday with more. We'll see you next week.
The Sue Ellen Sanders Show. Every Friday night at 6:05 right here on WPSL. Archives of this show can be found on YouTube. Go to YouTube and type in WPSL TV and then look for the Sue Ellen Sanders Show on YouTube. And join us every Friday night at 6:05 for the Sue Ellen Sanders Show right here on Digital 1590 WPSL. It's one of the many reasons why we're the talk of the Treasure Coast.